Turn heads and bring the hype with a custom hype chain from Lotwin. Perfect for youth sports, fantasy football, or just flexing your pride. Go to Lotwin.com, use the promo code TCCPOD for 10% off your order. That's Lotwin.com, promo code TCCPOD for 10% off. Get your custom hype chain and get hype with Lotwin. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for July 17th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast, coming at you with an oceanfront view here in Ocean City, Maryland. Going to be a good beach day. I think I have the sound figured out. Hopefully, I'm not recording this and then have to go back and re-record it. So hopefully it comes in. But let's get into what happened last night. Union with a 2-1 win over Montreal. It was not pretty. It was sloppy. It was played in very humid conditions down in Chester, but they got the win 2-1 over Montreal. Ty Barabo and Owetu Makanya both scored for the Union. And again, they stay in first place. It's not necessarily a pretty win, but when you're playing a last place team and you come out with the 3 points, that's good. They are now off to Houston to take on the Houston Dynamo on Saturday. The other big story in Philly sports was the Espys. And I'm sure by now you've seen some of the clips, but if you haven't, go check them out. Shane Gillis absolutely crushed it. There was a trailer for a Tush Push movie where he ripped the Green Bay Packers. Just go check it out if you haven't checked it out. Nick Sirianni was there. Jordan Mailata was there. Jordan Davis was there. Josh Sweat was there to Eagles won Best Team Award, which no real shocker there. Lots of Go Birds chants. And I think my biggest takeaway was Shane 100% bought into the new Philly attitude. A lot of the things he was saying, people would cringe at with that old Philly mentality. Don't say that, you're going to jinx it. But full-fledged, he was like, I don't care. The Eagles are the king of the sports world. Everybody knows the NFL is king. You are the best team in the NFL. And he ripped the Cowboys, ripped the other teams in the NFL. And I, for one, love it. Let the hate start. Listen, we're not in this position. And I was listening to the radio the other day, and Ray Didinger was on. And Ray Didinger said, this is uncharted territory for the Eagles, and we need to embrace it. The fact that they're going into this season as the best team in the NFL. So why not talk your trash? Just let's go. Like, I loved it. But if you haven't seen any of the clips, go check it out. The Tush Push fake movie trailer was absolutely hilarious. Ripping the Cowboys, obviously, is always hilarious. So good job by Shane, local guy, Eagles fan, on his hosting of the ESPYs. All right, let's do some quick housekeeping. Be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont on Twitter and TikTok, on Instagram at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont, and continue to spread the word as we grow this thing. If you're liking it, likely somebody else in your network will as well. If you want to see highlights, they're available on my social media, newspapers, clippings, photos, video highlights, where I can find them, all of that on my social media, as well as Facebook and LinkedIn. And then be sure to check out the Discord channel. First link in the description. Come over. Let's talk some Philly sports. I'm going to really start making a push on the Discord channel now that I'm getting more acclimated with it. So be one of the first to come over and let's talk some Philly sports. Obviously, here today, we'll be recording from here tomorrow. And then in August, I mentioned this the other day, but I'm going to be doing throughout the month of August, along with our Eagles preview, we'll be doing the top 5 for the first 25 years of this century. Lots of lists, my top 5 rankings. Hopefully this will be able to spark and get some of the debate going on Discord, so stay tuned for that. And then a couple corrections from yesterday. As I always say, I'd like to Make sure you're getting the correct information. Aaron Judge, I knew it was Soto or Judge. Judge was the second fastest to 200 home runs behind Ryan Howard, beating Ralph Kiner. And then Judge was actually the fastest to 300. It was Judge, Kiner, then Ryan Howard. So I think I had them a little bit out of order there. And then Kenny Thomas in his Sixers career did average 12 points a game, almost 9 rebounds. Again, not bad, but not $50 million worth. Good. And then I mentioned with Kyle Schwarber, the swing off to decide the All Star game. In fact, I'm pretty sure after 2 overtime periods, the World Cup can be decided on penalty kicks, just through my research. So always want to make sure you have the facts. So there you have it. And then yesterday's trivia question, we had two. Ryan Howard base team that Ryan Howard has the most home runs against in his career, the Atlanta Braves with 52. Lots of people thinking the Marlins or the Mets, but no, it was the Braves. And the three teams in Major League Baseball history or Major League Baseball that he's never homered against, the Seattle Mariners, the Anaheim, Los Angeles, whatever they are, Angels, and of course, the Phillies, since he played his whole entire career for the Phillies. All right, today is Thursday. Not a whole lot going on. We're in the dead zone of sports. This is sort of like a reset period where it's just WNBA, the Open Championship, and getting ready for training camp. In a few short years, though, we will have WNBA, but we got to be patient for that. But Throwback Thursday is brought to you by Beach Caddy. Go to beachcaddy.app. Use the promo code Jimbo to take 15% off of your move-in, move-out service, as well as your beach cart rental. Let them take the stress out of your vacations. Go to beachcaddy.app. Use that promo code Jimbo. All right, so for today, I saw this in the Inquirer the other day, so I thought it'd be a good topic to talk about here. But Throwback Thursday, we're going to talk about hip hop, the Sixers' old mascot from 1998 to 2011. He was essentially replacing Big Shot. Remember, Big Shot was the big bald guy that looked like he was made by the same folks that made the Phillie Fanatic. And this was all in an effort to try to get more modern. The big, with the exception of the Phillie Fanatic for the most part, the big, fuzzy, Muppet like mascots kind of were phasing out. You had the gorilla in Phoenix who was doing the dunks and jumping off trampolines and things like that. When Pat Croce came in as one of the owners, wanted to make it more of a fan experience because the Sixers, like, they couldn't even give Sixers tickets away pre Allen Iverson, which I didn't realize as I was getting into this article. They would try to give them away for charity, and charities were like, no, thank you. So that's how bad the Sixers were. So they needed something to bring some kids in. So this muscle bound, dancing, dunking, rabbit hip hop came in, made his debut on January 15th, 1998, in a game against the Bulls. The guy who did it, Bill Roth, who played hip hop, said he was super nervous for a couple of reasons. One, of course, because they were playing Michael Jordan, and two, the Sixers had they were sponsored by Mountain Dew, and it was the Dew Crew. So it was a group of people doing the dunks and things like that. They were terrible. I think they missed like the first dunk, and the fans started booing. So Croce right away was like, "Nope, you're fired. One game in, you're fired." So there's a lot of pressure on Bill to make this hip hop character work. He was a former Temple gymnast. He won a couple medals at the Pan American Games, but he helped design the rabbit, helped to give it the edge. And again, they wanted to have Pat Croce wanted start to finish. He wanted the entertainment value to be there. And if you go to Sixers games now, it's still, despite the fact the team is terrible, it is still kind of action packed. And I think that goes back to Pat a lot. But you combine hip hop without Allen Iverson kind of coming into his own and being the star. Sixers were a draw. There was a point in time in the late 90s, early 2000s where the Sixers were probably outdrawing the Phillies. And it was like people were like, hey, you want tickets to the Sixers game? You jumped at them. Far cry from when charities were like, no, thank you. We don't want anything to do with that. He had his little crew, Little Hip Hop. Uh, there was like a bunch of other rabbits with it, and his daughter, Bill Roth's daughter, actually played Little Hip Hop. A lot of the stuff was just unscripted, and if you read the article, go to the if you have Inquirer account, it was actually really cool, just like the backstory and how a lot of this stuff was they were flying by the seat of their pants doing it. But hip hop was a big part of the reason the Sixers were able to kind of get into the next level when it came to attendance, and then the lockout that happened in 2011 kind of ended it all. The Sixers were not drawn because they've had a couple losing seasons in a row. This was the end of that purgatory era, or this was during that purgatory era, I should say, and pre-process area. And the Sixers were just nobody wanted to go again, and everybody blamed hip hop. Hip hop was catching strays for the Sixers' bad play. So then Angelo Cataldi said, sacrifice the rabbit for the sake of the team. Team listened, and it was a new ownership group. They were like, you know what? Let's get rid of hip hop. We'll start off fresh. And that kind of ushered in, like I said, the process area. And now the mascot is Franklin the dog. But hip hop, the Sixers' old mascot, is today's Throwback Thursday focus. Again, you can't associate those teams with the Allen Iverson teams. You always have hip hop was somewhere in the picture. Today, Bill Roth and his wife do run Cross Point Gymnastics out of Booth Wynn. He is a Temple Hall of Famer, but he was the man in part and largely responsible for Hip Hop the Rabbit, the Sixers' old mascot. And that was Throwback Thursday for today. Brought to you, as always, by Beach Caddy. Go to beachcaddy.app. Use that promo code Jimbo to take 15% off of your order. This day in Philly sports history is proud to be a part of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network, a growing community of diehard fans turning their sports passion into something special. Whether you're looking for unique shows, want to launch your own podcast but don't have the time, or need production services, the clashingconferences.com has everything you need. Explore fan-driven content, become a member, or tap into their media services to level up your brand. That's clashingconferences.com, where fans' voices get heard. All right, July 17th. We're going to do a little bit of a Philly spotlight today. And first, we're going to go all the way back to 1918. And on this day, the Phillies lost to the Cubs 2-1 in 21 innings. It was the longest game as far as innings in Phillies team history. And get this, pitcher that day for the Phillies was Milt Watson. He pitched a complete game. He gave up a run in the first inning, pitched 19 scoreless before giving up an RBI single in the bottom of the 21st to allow the Cubs to win. So let that sink in. He pitched over 2 full games at one time. Pitchers were just built different back then. And then we're going to move all the way back up to 1984. And on this day in 1984, Sixto Lezcano hit 2 home runs and had 3 RBI for the Phils as they beat the Reds 4-3 out at Riverfront Stadium. On the mound that day for the Phils was Steve Carlton, who pitched 8 innings, struck out 8, giving him 104 total strikeouts for the season. It was his 18th straight season with 100 or more strikeouts, set a new National League record, tied a Major League record set by Walter Johnson. That streak would end the following year in 1985. Steve did end his Major League Baseball career, though, with 19 seasons over 100 strikeouts. Pretty impressive, but that happened on this day in 1984. And then fast forward to 2007, the Phillies pounded out 26 hits against the Dodgers as they beat them 15-3 out at Dodger Stadium. Ryan Howard hit 2 home runs. Pat Burrell added a solo shot, and Aaron Rowand went 5 for 6 with 3 doubles, a homer. It was the second game within 3 days that he had 4 extra base hits. First Philly to ever have 2 within the same month, let alone the same week. And Bryce Harper, we talked about the game Bryce Harper had the other day against the Padres. This was very up there, same kind of deal. Excuse me. 4 extra base hits in one game. Last time a Philly did it was Kyle Schwarber last year. Now, Schwarber also did it within a month, 30 days, but he did it in August and then again in September of last year. But on this day, Aaron Rowand with 3 doubles and a homer as the Phillies pound the Dodgers 15-3 out in Dodger Stadium. Second time within a week that he had 4 extra base hits in the same game. All right, today's trivia question. I'm going to go back to Steve Carlton. I mentioned he had 19 seasons with over 100 strikeouts. He is tied for 5th on that all-time list. Who are the other 5 names that are either tied or above Steve Carlton with seasons over 100 strikeouts? Hit me up on the Discord channel, the Back to the Future voice and text line, 267-495-4931 or 8531. Sorry, I had a mental breakdown there. But get your answer in. Steve Carlton, 19 seasons in his career with 100 or more strikeouts. What other pitchers are either tied with him or above him for seasons with 100 or more strikeouts? Pretty hefty list there. So let me know your thoughts on that. And then finally today, our greatest individual season in Philly sports history tournament. Yesterday in the Wilt Chamberlain matchup, 1961-62 Wilt Chamberlain did beat 1965-66 Wilt Chamberlain with 88% of the vote. He moves on for a spot in the Sixers regional. He'll take on the winner of next week's game. Today we go to the Eagles regional, and this is going to be another doozy. We have the number 2 seed Reggie White from 1987 taking on the number 3 seed Nick Foles from 2013. Reggie White just was outstanding, 21 sacks in 12 games, made the Pro Bowl, Defensive Player of the Year, All-Pro. Also forced 4 fumbles that year and returned a fumble for a touchdown. Taking on Nick Foles from 2013, who started 10 games, went 8-2 in those 10 games, made the Pro Bowl, threw for almost 2,900 yards, 27 touchdowns against 2 interceptions, completed 64% of his passes, had a 119.2 passer rating, and even threw for an NFL record 7 touchdowns in a game against the Raiders. So now it's your turn. Whose season was better? Reggie White, 1987, 21 sacks in 12 games. Nick Foles, 2013, the 27-2 season with 7 touchdowns against the Raiders. Probably going to have to go Reggie on this one, but what do you think? Hit me up on the Discord, any of my social media, the Back to the Future voice and text line, 267-495-8531. Get that, anything else Philly sports related off your chest. Be sure to subscribe, like, comment, review, all that other good stuff. And don't forget to check out our friends at Philly Goat. They have you covered with anything Philly sports related for your apparel. So go to phillygoat.com, use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. On this day in 2007, Phillies beat the Dodgers 15-3. Aaron Rowand with 3 doubles and a homer, his second game in a week with 4 extra base hits. 1984, Sixto Lezcano hit 2 homers for the Phillies. Steve Carlton, 18th straight season with 100-plus strikeouts, setting the National League record and tying the Major League record, which eventually would be broken. But that is the trivia question. Who is on that list above Steve Carlton with the most career seasons with 100 or more strikeouts? And then 1918, Phillies lose to the Cubs in the longest game they've ever played, 21 innings, and it was a pitcher's duel. And excuse me, Milt Watson pitched all 21 innings for the Phillies. Again, pitchers were just built different back then. All right, be sure to check out the Shane Gillis stuff, though. Let me know your thoughts on that. I like it. Very new Philly-ish. Love every second of it. Talk your trash, man. Talk your trash. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for July 17th, 2025. My name's Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Thursday. And until next